Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a philosophy that's, well, it's pretty fiery. It's all about breaking free from what the speaker calls the middle class mindset. We're diving into a source that totally flips the script on how we traditionally view our jobs, our goals, and our life's overall purpose. It basically asks a crazy question. Is your quest for a comfortable, easy life actually the exact thing stopping you from achieving greatness? Let's get into it.
Hate, comfort. Two very blunt words, right? But that's the core controversial premise we're looking at today. The source argues that our traditional mindset is completely obsessed with relaxation. We grind away at work just so we can eventually go home and rest. But the central argument here is that if you actually want to make history, if you want to leave a real mark on the world, you literally have to despise comfort. Because comfort just means you're stagnant. So, let's get real for a second. Ask yourself, do you actually love your job, or are you just counting down the days until the 31st of the month? It's a tough question. The speaker is basically challenging us to look in the mirror here. If you're only putting on that suit and tie for the direct deposit at the end of the month, the source argues your effort is already fundamentally compromised from the start.
Section 1, the illusion of comfort. Now, the source points out this super common cultural trap. Think about parents pushing their kids towards secure government jobs. The critique here is pretty sharp. The speaker argues this push often isn't about a noble desire for public service at all. Instead, it's driven by the hope that the kid gets a relaxed, easy life where they might not have to work very hard. It's that whole mindset of working 30 days just for a salary, or spending 40 years of your life grinding strictly so you can do absolutely nothing in retirement. The speaker views this as a tragic waste of human potential. Which leads us to this fascinating concept: fake hard work. Think about it. Working an 8-hour shift only to spend that entire time, plus the commute home, completely cursing your boss and your job. The speaker says that's not hard work. That's a compulsion. Treating your daily effort like some miserable burden doesn't build greatness, it just builds resentment. Section 2, compulsion versus passion. This contrast is just incredibly powerful. On one hand, you have hard work done out of sheer compulsion, working purely for the boss or just for that paycheck. The source impartially observes that this is often the reality for laborers, working out of absolute necessity to survive. But then, contrast that with how highly successful people operate. They're doing the heavy lifting out of love for the craft. It's pure passion. Their extreme dedication doesn't drop for a single second, even when the boss is completely out of the picture. So, how do you bridge that gap? Well, the source lays out a pretty clear progression to the top. Step 1, you've got to decouple your motivation from the paycheck. Step 2, upgrade from working 8 hours out of force to working 10 hours out of love. And Step 3, maintain that extreme dedication whether anyone is watching or not. According to the source, this specific shift in mentality is exactly what allows someone to start as a fourth-grade employee and eventually rise all the way up to CEO. Section 3, capability, not cash. There's a really stern warning here against taking shortcuts. We all know those schemes promising easy money with zero hard work, right? Well, the source points out a massive flaw in that trap. Sure, they might hand you some temporary cash, but they completely rob you of the opportunity to build permanent capability. The money might show up, but the personal growth absolutely doesn't. And that brings us to a crucial metric: 10 crore. The source argues that the true test of success isn't just making your first 1 crore. The real question is, during that journey, did you build the internal capability, the resilience, and the skills of a 10 crore person? Because if you just grabbed the cash without actually expanding your capacity as a human being, the second you lose that money, you're not getting it back. But if you've built the true capability, you can fall down 100 times and rebuild your empire 101 times. To really ground this idea, the speaker shares a pretty wild personal anecdote. Picture this. It's 2018, right in the commanding officer's room of the Indian Army. The speaker has been brought in to give a motivational talk to the troops. But when he walks in, the commanding officer takes one look at him, presumably judging his standard physical appearance, and genuinely doubts him, asking, "Is this the guy who's supposed to speak to us?" The response from the person who brought the speaker in was absolutely sharp. He said, "Who Sachin Tendulkar isn't determined by his height or width, but by what happens when the bat comes into his hands." I love that. It brilliantly illustrates that true capability has literally nothing to do with superficial appearances. It is purely about your performance when it's time to execute. And once you have that capability, you have a choice in how you apply it. The source makes a really sharp comparison here between just earning money and truly earning respect.
Look, if making a quick profit was your only goal, the absolute easiest path would be selling harmful substances like alcohol or tobacco. People will literally line up for it. But it lacks respect. True respect, the speaker argues, only comes when you're working tirelessly for the health, betterment, and well-being of the public.
Section 4, the true purpose. The speaker passionately believes that working to prevent illness and protect families elevates your daily grind to a higher, almost divine purpose. Think about providing organic, healthy solutions. Your goal is literally to keep the country out of hospitals and free from disease. At that point, you aren't just selling a product anymore, you're actively saving people. And when you realize the sheer magnitude of a mission like that, the source says you should naturally develop a complete hatred for just sitting around and resting. To hammer home why finding this bigger mission is so urgent, the speaker imparts a dark but incredibly impactful story. It's about the owner of the massive music label T-Series. Tragically, the owner's young daughter, who was just in her 20s, developed cancer. They flew her all the way to Germany to get the absolute most advanced medical treatments available in the world. This presents a really harsh, undeniable reality. Think about it. Here was a family with immense, practically unlimited financial resources. They had direct access to the top-tier medical care on the planet. And yet, despite having literally everything money could buy, they couldn't delay death. They lost her. It's a profound, sobering reminder of the absolute limits of wealth. Which brings us to this final lingering thought. If the ultimate currency of the universe, time and life, cannot be bought, no matter how rich you are, then why on earth is your work solely focused on earning a paycheck? The source is really challenging us here to rise above that middle-class comfort trap, to build real capability, and to find a purpose so massive that it makes us forget about resting entirely. So what is the true purpose driving your hard work today? Think about that, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.